Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Swish City, where we're going over our power rankings, looking at each team heading into the NBA season, going over their additions, subtractions, players they kept, players that I think fit well on the team, players that I don't think really mesh that well, and my overall record prediction for each team. If you guys are all new to this series, go check out the other videos on the channel. There are an abundance of them leading up to this one, but in today's episode, we're going to be discussing and diving in on the last team in the Western Conference to fall out of the play-in and not make the playoffs. And currently, that would be this team in the Los Angeles Lakers. That's right, the team that has a really great story coming into the season with LeBron and his son Bronny James being able to play alongside each other. But ultimately, I don't think this team has enough star power to make a deep run in the Western Conference, specifically with some of these younger teams. So we're going to dive in and look and discuss at all of that. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. So with this Lakers team, it's a little bit confusing. They have made some changes to the roster, some minor changes, but nothing really big. As we all know, the Lakers went out and made no big moves and no additions in free agency. The only addition being Christian Coloco, who is signing on a two-way deal. We'll get into Christian Coloco in a little bit, but the only thing that they did was re-sign two of their players, getting Max Christie to return on a 4-year deal, and also bringing in LeBron James on another 2-year deal. They did lose out on two players. Spencer Dinwiddie, who was a late season addition from the buyout market from Brooklyn, went over to Dallas. And Torian Prince, who was working in this system as a defensive wing for this squad, goes over to Milwaukee. So players on this Lakers team are going to expect to take a bigger role, and there is no third star alongside these guys. We want to look at the not stat sheet, roster sheet of this team cap breakdown courtesy of Spot Track and Keith Smith. We can see that the Lakers do have their roster basically set at this moment. When looking at two-way deals in Exhibit 10's, one player that really jumps out to me is Kyler Kelly. He was a player that played on the Maine Celtics this year and was a very solid shot blocking and rim protecting big, high energy offensive rebounder and defensive rebounder for the Maine Celtics. I think that he could be a nice guy for the G League or possibly even for this Lakers rotation, as we'll get into a little bit later about their front court depth issues. This team, like I said, does have the legs of LeBron and Anthony Davis, two top tier players, and then some so good quality role players as well as D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, but ultimately doesn't have that third star, that extra power punch to take them over the top and to really make them a legitimate threat in this Western Conference for me. As we've seen with this Lakers team in the previous past, they can win with, a team built around LeBron and AD. They don't need that third star. They don't need that extra firepower. But with an abundance of these teams in the Western Conference getting better, getting stronger, and the younger teams just continuing to grow and strengthen their forces, a team like the Lakers is desperately looking to kind of claw into that. Now, they also did address a head coaching addition as well, bringing in JJ Redick, who I think will definitely make some changes for this squad for the better and helping out LeBron, helping out AD, and making this team work better offensively and defensively. But honestly, I think the roster construction of this team just isn't enough to take the Lakers over the top in the West. So let's discuss some of the players on this team that I like and some players that I don't necessarily think fit in with this squad. First, let's dive into the obvious story, which is LeBron and Bronny James, people that you guys see on the thumbnail of this video, and what is going to be the main story of the Lakers. I mean, this is just super cool. As someone growing up in Boston as a Celtics fan, a player, someone that grew up going against LeBron in the East, growing up going against LeBron with the Lakers. This is just something cool to see, something you want to see in the NBA. LeBron's dream has always been able to play with Bronny, and seeing Bronny growing up as a kid alongside LeBron while his career was going on, and now to see him in the NBA alongside him is just super cool. Something we've never seen before, a father-son duo playing at the same time for the same team And I know that the narrative is obviously going to get blown up and explored into, and it's going to be a main focal point. But I really, really am happy for LeBron James, for Bronny, that they're able to live out this dream together because this could be the only time in NBA history we ever see something like this, specifically with someone like LeBron James, who's viewed in that GOAT discussion. It's not like he's just sitting at the end of a roster like Udonis Haslem was for the Heat, just taking up a roster spot and just being a mental leader. He's out there starting, being their best player still at this age. And it just goes to show you how much he truly cares about basketball and investing his body for this sport, but also how much he cares about his family and living this dream that he's set since the beginning. I'm very happy for LeBron in doing that. I just wanted to get into that little bit of a tidbit. But let's look into some players that I like with this Lakers team. One of them being Rui Hachimura. And Hachimura, coming from the Washington Wizards, I've always been a fan of him. Kind of inserts himself into this Lakers team at that 3-4. And even though he's not necessarily that third star, I think he's a great quality role player, inserting himself alongside LeBron and AD. Now, LeBron has kind of aged himself a little bit more with getting a little bit older, has moved to that power forward position, which ultimately slots Anthony Davis into that center spot, which means Hachi playing the three is pretty solid in a lineup with both of those guys in that front court. They're going to be pretty solid on the defensive side. Hachi can bring and contribute on the offensive side as well. He's just going to have that extra oomph this season, I believe, to be that scoring punch for this Lakers team. Him, Russell, and Reeves are basically, that third star on occasional nights, and they need to realistically play like that third star if the Lakers want to have some success. The only thing that I do see with the silver lining with Hachimura is if the Lakers are to acquire about a third star and to try to beef up this team at the deadline or throughout the season, Hachimura would be a name that could be utilized as he's a tradable contract, but also a young enough piece that a team would be interested in using and utilizing for their core as well. I think Hachimura just has a lot of upside and a lot of intrigue around the NBA. Another player similar to a player in Hachimura would be a player in Jalen Hood Schifino. Now, Hood Schifino was taken in the first round last year for the Lakers, and many people were saying that they shouldn't have passed up on Cam Whitmore. He would have been a better fit. Why they go with Hood Schifino? But Hood Schifino was pretty solid at the University of Indiana, where he was a playmaker, a creator first, and really setting up the offense. And I think that's what they kind of looked at with this acquisition was they seemingly saw that with LeBron James, with maybe getting another third star, they need that type of point guard or playmaker in this system. So they went with JHS. Now, with keeping Reeves and with keeping D'Lo, it kind of hindered how JHS would, rise in this system and really pan out. And I think that's kind of stunted his growth in that guard department a bit. So with JHS, I'm looking for some intrigue. I'm looking for some spark. I'm looking for some nice playmaking and defensive style on the from JHS in the preseason. If he can translate that into the regular season, from training camp to preseason to regular season, I think he can earn himself a spot. And if not, like I said, if the Lakers do look to make a move, if they look to trade somebody, they look to send somebody out, Hood Schifino is just another young, intriguing name who can honestly work himself into the NBA. And I think could value himself pretty highly if he was moved from the Lakers as well. A little bit similar to a Trey Man position, kind of being slaughtered down into that Thunder guard group. Hood can't really crawl himself out of the Lakers guard group, and if he is able to, it might have to be in a trade. Now, as a Celtics fan, you may think that I despise the Lakers. There's going to be everybody I hate. And that's incorrect. I love basketball as a whole. I root for players as a general, and I'm going to view the players objectively. The only person that I despise on this Lakers roster, and I can tell you it's not a player, it is Rob Pelinka. And I know Lakers fans are also in agreement with this. But Rob Pelinka, what are we doing? What are we doing? We had the option to trade D'Angelo Russell at the deadline when we know we needed a third star to make that engine push. We still didn't do it because D'Lo had a hot month in January leading into February. And then what happened? He falls asleep in the playoffs and nothing happens for the Lakers. What we expected to see happening. D'Angelo Russell is a very, very good point guard. Do not get me wrong. But he, on a championship squad, is not, and I repeat, is not a third option. D'Angelo Russell is a perfect player to be a solid role piece to play alongside of these guys, to be your fourth best player, your fifth best player. And that's not a knock on D'Angelo Russell. He is still a very talented player. But to win a championship, D'Angelo Russell needs to be brought in and utilized on a 50-50 game basis. where if he is hot and he is going, you're going to go to him, but you don't depend on him every single night because he is not going to give it to you every single night. And the Lakers have learned that. They have learned that twice with reacquiring a player in D'Angelo Russell, and they still have not learned on it. They could have traded for DeJounte. They could have traded for Trey. They didn't give up on that stuff. They didn't dive into those trades. And now DeJounte's in New Orleans with a lineup where he's going to be throwing lobs to Zion and looking very, very solid as a point guard. I'm telling you right now, the Pelicans haven't been mentioned because they are a team that I'm very high on. And also, player in Trae Young is in Atlanta with a bunch of young guys and would work perfectly alongside a pick and roll and pick and pop with Anthony Davis and a fantastic defender in LeBron James. I don't know why they haven't bitten the bullet yet. I don't know what they're doing. Rob Pelinka has messed up on all those fronts. Yes, Austin Reeves is good, but is he going to be a third star for your Los Angeles Lakers for the future? No. Move off of these players and D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves. Get your ticket now. Make the most out of it with LeBron. And then when LeBron leaves, you have Trae Young and Anthony Davis. Both of those players could be used as trade bait in the future to get younger talent to help another team push for a championship, or also for the Los Angeles Lakers, they can use those players to then bring in another star to replace LeBron. I don't necessarily know. Palinka is also messed up, like I mentioned, on an abundance of things with kind of structuring some of these guys. Like, let's be real here. Christian Wood, Jackson Hayes, they should not be on this roster this year. They were both atrocious with this Lakers team as centers. But because they signed to 2-year deals and they had player options, they're going to pick them up and they're going to come back. Cam Reddish didn't have the greatest season last year. He's back on this team. There's an abundance of players that I don't believe should be on this roster. They've had dealt with an abundance of injuries. Vanderbilt's still hurt leading into this season, which isn't good. Vincent's trying to crawl back from his injury. We'll see how he looks. But ultimately, I think the Lakers need to capitalize on LeBron James and Anthony Davis and in this Western Conference. Yes, it's a gauntlet. Yes, it's tough. But as a whole, you're not a top tier team. You need that extra scoring punch. And yes, investing in a player like Trae Young or investing in a player like Zach LaVine might be investive. Yes, you might be giving up some future. Yes, but you're the Los Angeles Lakers. Let's say this again. Los Angeles Lakers. You can get anybody from any franchise to come to your team and rebuild. Specifically, with a new CBA and how things are set, this Lakers team, if they go all in with a third star and then eventually do blow it up, trading away Anthony Davis, say they get Zach LaVine, say they trade away him, say they lose LeBron, guess what? In a year or two, the Lakers are going to be the mecca because they're going to have $120 million and two max slots to give it to. Guess what? When two disgruntled free agents see that, they're going to jump on it like KD and Kyrie did with the Nets, and the Lakers aren't the Nets. They'll give them the right franchise. They'll build them the right team. And as we've seen with the Lakers, they bring titles to the NBA. So players, if they do decide to do that, can bring that for the Lakers. I'm sorry I went on a little tangent. The Lakers fans here probably are in agreement with me, which is probably crazy to think because I got the green on in the background. But Rob Pelinka has been an atrocious GM so far. He needs to make moves, in my eyes, to better this roster, to further them this season, or else, if they don't, they're going to have injuries to Vando coming into the season. They're already dealing with injuries to Christian Wood coming into the season. So Jackson Hayes is viewed as your backup center, which is already a warning sign and a red flag from last year. And they're not going to be able to move off of guys like Jackson Hayes or Christian Wood unless they show out, unless they prove it. So it's kind of like a prove it or lose it year. And then if they lose and they're gone, yeah, you have some cap space, but then you're just picking up veteran minimums. It's not even like you're making any big splashes, big changes around the edge, around in the integral core. You're just making moves around the edges. Trust me, if the Lakers are looking to be a bottom five team in the Western Conference going into this season, 20, 30 games in, they will shake things up. And if they don't, it's just a recipe for disaster. Sorry for that rant. Let's get into, I just not like Rob Pelinka. Let's get into the record prediction. Like I said in my last video, these record predictions are going to be wonky. I already messed them up, and I just want to make sure that I'm not going underneath numbers and kind of screwing people up with math. So if you've seen some of the other videos, it's definitely gonna be messed up. But like I said, Lakers 41 and 41. Yeah, right. 41 and 41, finishing in an 11th place in the Western Conference. I must be on crack. Exactly. I don't know how I got to that, but like I said, I kind of messed up the numbers with some of the earlier teams, so that's why it's definitely affected some of these other teams kind of coming up. But yes, don't take the record prediction for a grain of salt. I think the Lakers are going to finish 11th in the Western Conference here. Unfortunately, not making the play-in and falling just short. Now, obviously, if they make some changes, obviously, if they do some different things, they could easily make the playoffs, or they could prove me wrong. There's an abundance of teams that I think are in this group: Clippers, Rockets, Kings, Lakers, Warriors, that are all kind of around that play-in bubble, around that 12 to 8 seed, and it's going to be a very, very competent Western Conference this year. It's going to be a gauntlet. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Where would you guys rate the Los Angeles Lakers on this list? Did I have them too high? Too low? Do you agree with the moves I think they should make? Do you think they should make different moves? Do you think I was just spewing BS? Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. I love reading all your guys' comments on this revitalization of the channel. It's been absolutely fantastic, all the support you guys have been showing. Once again, I'm Bruce Velez. Have a great rest of your day. Peace out, everybody.